I'm Radhakrishnan. I know the Commissioner of Greater Chennai Corporation since May 2023 as Deputy Commissioner in the year 1999, Health and Solid Waste Management. So I always feel that city is an area where everybody has certain things are reality, certain things are perception, and certain things are opinions. So it ultimately boils down to how people look at it. As a administrator, I feel that it's always a living city, 24/7 things happen. So we have to look at something which are immediate and day to day. For example, street lights should be burning, and you should have proper functional stormwater drains, and we should have solid waste management, regular garbage removal, and all. Similarly, parallelly, we should also have medium and long-term projects. Medium and long-term projects would look at building resilience and building, catering to the desires of various people. That is where I think smart city projects, while there are a huge varying opinion about what it has brought into the table, I could say that, again, many times we look at it myopically by looking at a project in isolation. For example, Pedestrian Plaza, somebody looks in. They fail to look at the kind of smart city contribution to the schools. So again, Pedestrian Plaza is a dream of everybody who wants that a central business district to have, where people can freely walk around. They can have a number of other activities going around, and again, also it should be free of encroachment, free of that was the aim. And to be very honest, as a citizen, when I saw the work going on, I was not the commissioner till May. Even I used to think that what is so great about it? Why so big, footpaths, and why so many areas? But when you look at the end product, at least there is some area where people can walk through. They can have evening performances. Elderly people can sit in some areas and all. Definitely, these are areas where you cannot look at it as 0 and 1. All the requirements of a pedestrian plaza, the aims and objectives, if you ask, has been served. No, it is not. Because even now, some of the areas get misused by temporary parking. People in the night use it. But if you look at the same area and compare it with what it was earlier, definitely you will say that there is a visible change, and definitely business also, they privately admit that now things have really shown up. People, the earnings have grown up and all. That is one part of the thing, one part of the issue. Apart from that, people, when you look at smart cities, we should look at that it was 49 different projects worth 990 crores, and it pedestrianized 10 roads, then another 13, totally 23 roads, 8 parks with waste recycling plants were provided, then LED lights in T Nagar, then bicycle lanes were started. It was successful. Certain areas it is not successful. I mentioned about 28 smart classrooms, particularly when you look at this Saidapet school and all, you can see the change. Then sensory park at certain areas, then on-street parking management system, which has not been very successful. Then certain challenges like missing link in Tyagaraja Nagar stormwater drain, that was a challenge. But traffic park, which is there here by side of Napier Bridge, that is a huge success. Apart from that, this restoration of water bodies, 32 water bodies, and putting in certain sponge parks and smart city development areas, several things. Unfortunately, people don't view it holistically.
What would you consider as a holistic success of
holistic is that smart city project is basically, it was looked at to create examples which can be replicated. Try out unique examples which may be successful, and in certain cases may not be fully successful. There's nothing like black and white or 0 and 1. So what I would term it as a success is it got focus into developing almost 210 temple tanks we could revive to develop greater storages. Similarly, pedestrian is a long neglected area. There we could bring in that ideas. That doesn't mean that we have satisfied every pedestrian's desire. So, but at least it has seeded that these are possible. Earlier there were people doubting that it will be a total flop. Many people need to also understand that Chennai is a very, very historic city, and it needs while maintaining its classical buildings, it needs to be renewed in certain areas. So when such large scale renewal projects and new projects take place, for example, Chennai is a unique city where the first phase of metro is over, but the second and the other phases are going to connect the nook and corner, even in the core cities and the expanded area. So when the work goes on, so that time you may not be able to reflect all the advantages of a pedestrian park. But you imagine that when all the work is over, no other mega city will have all the extended areas connected with metro and core area nook and corner getting connected with metro. So you will have a great opportunity to bring down the motorized traffic to this area once the multimodal system go. So these are things which people, and again you will get people embracing the advantages of pedestrian plaza much more. So that would be one of the angles which I think quite a lot of people ignore.
Right. Often when we speak about pedestrian plaza, the other conflicting issue is the street vendors. Like they were invisibilized is one argument that the vendors put, saying that it is against the Street Vendors Act. So if we are to replicate Ponti Bazaar model in any other areas, will that be considered?
See, already we are planning to develop similar models in MC Road, then Qadar Khan Nawaz Road. So again, if you look at clear the health walk, 8-kilometer health walk in Besant Nagar, except the first or maybe 300 to 500 meters where certain shops are there, bike shops are there, which use that area. Rest of the 8 kilometers is available with proper footpath for a walk. So North Chennai also we are looking at areas but with minimal displacement to people. Similarly, if you look at Qadar Khan Nawaz Road is going to become a happening place. So it's not necessarily out of this project, but the seeds are out of it. When you talk of vendors, we also appreciate that the kind of livelihood it has impacts on livelihood, but that is the job of the vendor committee constituted by High Court to create vending zones. So we also need to understand that if every footpath is occupied by vendor, no street vendor policy says that you should allow vendors on footpaths. See, these are all technically encroachments, but having said that, vendors are equally important. So that is why vending and non-vending zones in a very participative manner with non-elected, non-official people as members, and the High Court committee is there. They have twice deliberated into it. We had to make them understand that it is not legitimizing vendors in every street, but identifying streets where vendors can also have a livelihood without interfering in the requirements of other people who also have a right to the roads. The pedestrians have the first right. Similarly, road traffic cannot be narrowed down with so much of traffic going on. So definitely we will be able to find a balance is what I say. My personal opinion has been that Chennai is going through a churning because of large scale metro rail work, which will start getting over by 25 and 26 end. And certain projects will go up to 2028 also. But as more and more space gets back to us once the metro work is over, people will start appreciating it. If you look at T Nagar itself, now we are going to have this CIT Nagar Usman Road flyover linking. Once that linking is over, the bottom space will get cleared up. Already half of the thing up to Madley Road Junction is almost completed, and the roads are going to be freed up. One way is already given, the second way is almost likely to be given soon. So then only people will appreciate. Always during the work, it is always challenging to capture the imagination because people always want development with minimal pain. So that is the challenge which we face.
Right. So when it comes to multi-level car parking in T Nagar, it is said a huge investment was put into it, but it is underutilized. So what do you say on that?
See, definitely, like I said, in 0 and 1 category, this is one area where people need to embrace these changes. We need to improve regulation. What is happening is if there are adjacent places also parking available, nobody will go. Whereas if you look at Delhi airport, people automatically use the multi-level car parking in Terminal 3 other than the cars which are allowed to come up to the ramp. Here we need to learn about it, learn about this multi-level car parkings, lesser utilization. We have to learn lessons out of it, that we have permitted people to park things left, right, and center just adjacent to it. At least 50 meters or 1 km should be no parking areas. So this is some lessons which we will be doing.
So one of the things that the experts I spoke to pointed out was projects implement பண்ணினதுக்கு அப்புறம் அந்த மெயின்டெனன்ஸுக்கான காஸ்ட் ஃபண்ட் வந்து அலோகேஷன் இல்லாதது ஒன் ஆஃப் த ரீசன்ஸ் ஃபார் தீஸ் கைண்ட் ஆஃப் ப்ராஜெக்ட்ஸ் டு கோ இன் டு திஸ் புவர் கண்டிஷன். அது வந்து வெர்டிகல் கார்டன் ப்ராஜெக்டா இருக்கும், மல்டி லெவல் கார் பார்க்கிங், இதெல்லாம் அவங்க எக்ஸாம்பிள்ஸை சைட் பண்ணி சொல்றாங்க. ஸோ வாட் யூ ஹேவ் டு சே?
In that, I will say that the issues with regard to success and failure are very very, people just take a project off the cuff and they decide. When you look at the vertical garden, I in the first place would not have gone for it, but somebody has, so we should understand that I will not, because that time it was one of the ideas. So instead of it, I would have gone for again a successful implementation of putting up very artworks in all the compound walls and all. That would have been now, like for example from airport we are doing. So that was an good attempt, but without understanding that being a area with so much of summer around, or weather around, ensuring adequate water supply would not have done. So that is again a lesson learned. I will not be criticizing the earlier decision. Similarly, multi-level car parking, it's not, we will not say that it's a failure, because ultimately you had a fractured kind of approaches. Already there was a tender given for regular parking by corporation in the year 2019, which was not as successful as we imagined, and there were also issues with regard to the concessionaire, for which now he has been recently terminated and the issue is in court. So larger issue would have been that it should be part and parcel of an overall multimodal policy. That is why the entire work has been outsourced to Kumta, which is headed by Honorable Chief Minister, and it will also involve metro rail, it will also involve CMD areas, it will also involve Chennai Corporation, and it will also involve the other departments like highways wherever space is there. So when that happens, they will ensure that adequate protection is given for the viability. For example, Bangalore airport, for its viability, they say there should be no other airport within 150 kilometers. So similarly, for a multi-level car parking to be viable, people will utilize, if we do regulate and do not permit parking in the just adjacent to it below. And now you will say that also you are only doing. Honestly, it is a fact that the concessionaire now doing it has not delivered. That is why we have to terminate him, and we have to rectify. As far as maintenance is concerned, including this multi-level car, there was issues. So that is why we have been giving notices. Definitely maintenance of all projects we have to adequately build in, and that should not become a reason for pulling down a objective of a project. But I should assure you that there are such instances which are few and far in between. But by and large, if you look at the larger thing, as far as temple ponds are concerned, or for example tanks are concerned, or school projects are concerned, so many other projects you will have pluses more than the minuses, and you can distinctly view what is a smart city and what is not a smart city. There are definitely issues with regard to the widening of drains, and there are issues. So when you do such large scale work, as an administrator to claim that everything is 100% successful, or to dismiss projects taken up earlier as everything is 100% failure, will not be correct projection. It would be something, everything is in between. Some are hugely successful, some are successful to an extent, some despite good intention have been failure, and some had structural issues. So there are one or two projects which did have these challenges with regard to closed drains, Mamlam Canal, that the committee which re-examined has advised against it. So that sometimes looks as if it is left unfinished. So we are looking at all the projects and ensuring that more than compartmentalizing into smart city and non-smart city, there is no such thing. All projects should be based on a baseline and the need. And these are projects which, if successful, can rapidly be replicated. And in smart cities, we don't look into only Chennai. Like some of the successful Chennai projects are getting replicated outside. there are many projects which we look in other cities like Coimbatore within Tamil Nadu, or for that matter like
Can you cite some examples of that?
for example, Coimbatore, I think they have done a water body in a very substantive way. We have also done a lot of water body, but they are localized way in inputs. We have done Villivakam, a very beautiful lake, many lakes we have done. But as you enter Coimbatore, you will see that the water bodies are interconnected. They have got a very good entertainment area. They have got a boating, and they have also ensured that it is a very important resource there. So we look into that. Similarly, similar projects in other cities, be it Indore or be it Nasik. So we can get the advantage of smart city projects is there are a number of success stories throughout India. So we need not repeat we can replicate the success and improve upon the challenges which each city uniquely faced. A subject, of course, we should compare apple with apple. That is, mega cities, it will be very improper to compare a mega city with a 1 million or below cities, or that kind of comparison we should do. Having said that, there are a number of good examples in smart city project nationally. And I would personally say that, not much attention is given to the smart city school initiative, which has transformed, Chennai schools. Instead of, corporation school, we made it corporations Chennai schools. We branded it as Chennai school, and branding was not just in the name. We ensured that the infrastructure gets improved, smart classroom is provided, and again the ambience changes. And of course, parallelly, the teachers also get involved. So if you look at Bandar Garden School, or for that matter, our Nungambakam Girls High School, you can distinctly see. So now you will say you have 417 schools. So what is so great about this 28? These 28s have given us a template which we can replicate in 417, not necessarily out of smart city funding. 420, though, up to for residual work they have extended it up to 2025. The success of smart city project is not within the project itself. The finance plus concept of it is, it gives you so much of knowledge, both the template, and the template especially with the improvements to be included as we replicate it using our own fund. That is where I am telling this MC Road example, Khadar Khan example are all issues where we will take advantages of this pedestrian plaza. And last but not least, replication need not be 100% exactly what you have done in pedestrian plaza. Here we had enough space, and there is definitely, I agree, that criticism that the pedestrian on both sides is quite huge, whereas the traffic, one-way traffic, it is very narrow. And the initial part has got non-retail kind of shops. So in other areas, we will take the concept and ensure that it doesn't, when we improve those roads, we keep in mind the nature of requirement of each stakeholder there, like you mentioned about vendors. So as we are discussing now, the smart city projects ultimately give us capacity to ensure that this get replicated. So, for example, North Chennai MC Road, World Bank funding where it is going to get supported. The Khadar Khan Namaz Road is another area and all. There, similarly with ITDP, which is provides unique solution in transportation. It has now studied the areas, the entire 35,000 numbers of roads with 6,000 kilometer length. Obviously, every road, interior roads may not need or may not have the capacity to have a footpath. But they have come up with a solution saying that, these are the prioritized roads which we should address. And if you take up 15% per year over the next few years, gradually the entire city will become pedestrian friendly. So these are, we look at it that way. We don't look at it in a hypercritical way, or we don't look at it as a hyper happy way that everything is successful. So we take the issues which some of the people who are experts or who stakeholders come with their opinion, and try to ensure that each time either we rectify if it is a localized issue with regard to a project already undertaken, or if it can be, when we expand it to other areas, if we can incorporate those suggestions.
Right. So when you were speaking about water body restorations, except for Mambalam and Villivakam canal restoration, all other projects are completed, is what I learned. So how do you think it has impacted the environment of Chennai? Do you think the groundwater has increased, or has it helped in flood mitigation?
First, see, the biggest problem of Chennai is that it has only four outlets. Four outlets, Kosatalayar, this side Adayar, then Kuvam, and an independent Kovalam basin. So, whatever may be the length of stormwater drain or thing, ultimately this has to go through four. So, the second challenge is we are at the tail end. All the water from Andhra, southern Andhra, and 5,119 square kilometer of Greater Chennai area, including the three neighboring districts, goes through this place and goes to the sea. So what happens, and similarly the storage area, if you look at all the storage area put together, will be around 15 TMC or below. The larger thing. So to create, because of the way our terrain is. So with a flat terrain, some areas just up to 5 meter means some area almost interior are slightly lower than. So here, and we have acute summer also. So rapidly our storage space gets exhausted, and similarly, while Chennai is unique that it has the largest number of, despite being a mega city, it has though Metro Water takes care of it, more than 1,100 MLD of water we are supply by having desalination plant, by having Viranam supply, and by having Krishna River, and also regular water sources. So, but having said that, still quite a lot of other activities goes around with borewells and get it. So borewells for the other activities. So groundwater is equally important. So instead of allowing all the flows to the sea, the whatever we are able to retain, that adds on to the ground value, and we will know it because of late we have not had acute drought. In this year, the beginning we did have some summer, but before it could change into a full-fledged water issue, we had enough rains. So even Viranam became supply started and all. So I feel that these 2-ton tanks or something, they become local receptacles to hold on. Technically, like Sponge Park also we are doing in Big almost 32 Sponge Park we have done, and Temple Tank deepening. Villivakam has got a core direction to develop a neighboring area, which was with Metro Water, into a deeper water spread area adjacent to this attractive glass bridge. So definitely we are at it, and we'll definitely be working on it.
Right. One last question on smart city is that lack of transparency on tracking these projects is one of the things that was pointed out by the experts. So advisory committee meeting, smart city advisory committee meeting was convened only 5 times since 2016, according to reports. So how can you ensure transparency to the public?
See, one issue is that we have two kinds of people in this. Some people who are very, very they just see things happening. They want regular civic issues, but they are not directly involved in what happens. They don't keep track. And there are also people who are one, civic conscious, and also activist. The second thing. So I personally feel, apart from these council meetings which happen regularly and all, even council feels that smart city project had to be a little bit more transparent, and who is doing what, we don't have an idea. So I definitely, similarly we have area sabhas which involve local ward level representation also. I personally feel that we should not give an impression, not necessarily only in smart city. In all these issues, we should definitely transparently share what is a project, what is the objective and aim of a project. For mega projects, we always have a public hearing beyond a particular level. The rest of the projects also, there is nothing wrong in sharing. In between, there was a special officers, and it was a non-elected thing. Now that the elected representatives have come, area sabhas have been constituted, we need to definitely keep them updated about what is happening. Last but not least, we should also put up the status on websites. Attractive documents showing the success should also be accessible, so that people who are looking at it, one among 49 projects. Do not form a same impression about all the remaining projects. Maybe in one they would have an opinion or an issue, but they should not generally go that all smart city projects are good. So as I have been regularly mentioning, why alone smart city? All civic projects, both capital or maintenance, they should not be viewed in a scale of 0 or 1 or a black or white. We should view it from, and in places like Chennai, everybody seems to have an opinion. If you want to go to a consensus, probably the decision will be not to decide. So sometimes you have to take what is a larger opinion. Having said that, definitely with regard to multi-level car parking, we could definitely show a lot of improvement once Kumta comes in. Similarly, with regard to maintenance of the the vertical gardens, we should definitely have involved more people on sustainable thing. I personally feel the Miyawaki concept has been hugely successful in urban areas, so which are all easily possible. Similarly, not connected with smart city, but parks, we have also done a number of improvements, Kotorpuram and below the, making it attractive is part of the Singar Chennai and smart city projects, but there are independent of it we have been doing. So those things all are a lesson for us to understand that while we will be, whoever was executing, my predecessors or in our period, we should be proud of what we could achieve as far as independently tractable successes are concerned. We should also be conscious that there is a long way to go for us to ensure that we meet the aspirations of the civic citizens and the people who have the opinion, so that we are able to join together as we take Chennai to the next phase. After 2 to 3 years, I personally feel that 3 years later, we will find that the entire civic landscape of Chennai would have changed. By the time most of the metro rail projects would have been completed, multimodal transport would have got integrated. So, and by the time more awareness about need for dedicating things to pedestrian and bicycles would have come. So, I'm always optimist, but I'm definitely sure that there are a lot of people who are having doubting Thomases. The only way is to address their concern and ensure that their doubts are satisfied.
How do you plan to do that? How do you plan to do that?
That is, to ensure wherever the doubts are real, we should not be defensive. We should accept it and rectify, rather than trying to defend the indefensible. For example, the current parking which we are having had issues. People were not happy. So we need to take bull by the horn and accept it. Luckily, that period is over, though there are court cases out of it. Similarly, wherever we have made legitimate decision errors with regard to vertical gardens, ideally it would have been a very successful, but in practical, I should also not look at it in a utopian way. I should look at in reality what happens. Similarly, with regard to other issues, I find that if we involve and expose people to the successes with regard to school education, with regard to sponge parks, with regard to temple tanks, so that it doesn't remain as if only a blind man and elephant, only few of us know. Others also will know that, okay, it is smart city is not necessarily just a pedestrian plaza, just a vertical garden, just a multi-level car park, and also tell them that we are expanding it with appropriate modification to other areas wherever it has been proved successful by neutral observers. Now, I should not decide what is successful by myself. Wherever I find that people also demand that yes, this could be done, we should lap on and take that area to forward.